Good evening. So earlier when I was riding to work and it was cold and windy, I mean really windy, of course against my direction. And the question comes up, what is bad weather? Seems like an ordinary question. It's bad weather. Cold. If bad weather is cold for you. Well, of course, while I was riding, I was thinking, I much prefer riding in the cold than in August here. Now, when it's, for me, bad weather is when it's hot and sunny. And this is perfect weather to go for a ride. But for others, it's bad weather to ride in the wind and rain, and quite nice when it's 38 degrees. Of course, there is no good and bad weather, and we know that. And we know that it's just something you assign outside conditions. A quality we project, we give and we define, and then it reflects back onto our own subjective experience. We know all that, but we still hold on to that and take it as an accurate description of what is real. The weather is a trivial example of that, but it tends to that process of giving qualitative designations to the outside world, then this becomes habitual, so that we're always basically labeling good and bad. Pleasant and unpleasant becomes good and bad. And cold may be unpleasant, but then when it becomes bad, then it reflects back and changes my whole perspective. Not just for now, not just for this moment. These labels we give then stick, and it starts to then become what's called a preconception. So it's not just relating to the experience I'm having now, but it predicts my experience that I'll have in the future. So that label then becomes the way I will see future experiences. That's called conditioning of mind. We not only have had it done and have done it, but we do it and then we believe it. So it's a process to examine as it happens. And the sort of meditative mind looks at your experience and asks the question, what am I doing? What is my mind doing? Why am I unhappy, or why am I happy? We can assign responsibility to external conditions, like the cold is making me miserable. And the meditative mind examines that and asks again, what's the cause of this misery? What is the cause of this happiness? And that's what we do, is we turn the light inward. I take that phrase, turn your awareness inward, from Dogen, who I want to read tonight with you a little bit. Because the tradition of meditation, which is something that we are participating in, is an old practice. Most of us have come to it as adults, so it's relatively new to us. It's much newer than a lot of other things we've done in our lives, like eating and sleeping and studying and learning and growing and all the things we do, playing and crying and all the things. We've been doing that all our lives. And at some point, we had to turn inward, and it directed us towards more of an inner awareness. Less of outer achievement and more of a type of wanting to cultivate a type of presence. And that presence was one of non-judgment. in what Dogen calls non-thinking. So one of the questions is asked in his approach to meditation is, how do you sit? And the answer that his master gave him, what does it mean to sit? He said, you don't think. So what does it mean not to think? It sounds kind of judgmental, right? And the answer to the question, how do you not think? Or what does it mean to not think? The answer was, by not thinking. Meaning there wasn't an answer to it. It meant that when you have a thought, you don't immediately follow it with another thought. Right? You simply notice the thought, and then you notice the thought in relation to that thought. That the meditative awareness is not stopping the thoughts, it's simply not getting involved and adding to the thoughts. What does that mean? And that's what I want to look at a bit, because this is not a new practice. Many people, for many centuries, for millennia, have been deeply involved in the practice of inner awareness, of meditation. What is the wisdom that we're participating in when we sit? What does it have to offer us? More than just, as I mentioned in the instruction, relaxation. Relaxation. Sometimes in the beginning, meditation is defined as a type of samadhi, or a type of collected awareness of body and mind, which seems to be an inner stillness and a calm, so that the agitated mind calms down. And often the example is given of, mud that is stirred up when the waves happen, and when, the wind dies down and the wave stops, and the mud simply settles to the bottom and the water's clear. So that image is often given in meditation as to what samadhi means. And samadhi, which is like a first stage of what happens to your mind when you can concentrate. What happens when you concentrate is that all the external noise dies down, and what you're focusing on is just simply more clear. Now that's an important technique for anything you do, whether it's study or work or whatever, or even a conversation. There's a lot of noise, not just external noise, of course. We're talking about the internal noise of your mental chatter, the mental conversation you have that's not part of the actual conversation you're having with someone, or the conversation you're having with your work or study. But it's the extra. You know when it's extra, because you're distracted. Even when you're focused, you're distracted, because there's extra noise. Samadhi is letting that noise, quiet down, so that you can then simply pay more attention. That is the first stage of meditation, which has to do with choosing a focus and noticing when you've lost that focus, and training the mind to return to that focus, more quickly and more strongly, and to maintain it for a longer amount of time. So that's the concentration and mindfulness together. And what it produces naturally is the energy of samadhi. And I call it an energy of samadhi. In Japanese, they call it joriki, where you sort of have this, increase of energy, of life energy, by virtue of being more focused. Because you're using up a lot of, life energy, mental energy, and even physical energy to deal with distractions. When your attention is spread out, you're simply using your energy for those other things. So what happens when you focus is all that energy can become collected. And you may notice that sometimes when you sit. Have you ever come into a sitting, and you come in and you've had a long day and you're tired, and you had to make a decision. You're like, I'd like to go home and relax and maybe just lie on the couch with my book or whatever you do. Or I'll come to the sitting. You kind of drag yourself. Okay, I'll sit. And you're tired. At some point, you may notice, you may experience that you're no longer struggling to stay awake. That suddenly there is a natural increase of almost physical energy as well, and definitely mental energy. It's not the type of energy that means you're going to study and remember things. It's just the wakefulness, that ability to be more aware and wakeful, and calm. And that's called Joriki, and it's life energy. And when you sit and you're not thinking that you're actually trying to do something, but you're just allowing it to be. And instead of pushing the distractions, you just let that energy, those waves settle. And naturally your body and mind have more energy. That's the energy of samadhi and Joriki. That's very positive, okay? That's very positive. But again, that's not why we meditate. That's good. And it's encouraging. It definitely is encouraging. Now, it's also very unstable, because it's not always going to happen. And one of the unfortunate results of having experienced samadhi is that then we come to expect it. And we think, if I don't achieve that sense of calm and energy in meditation, then I'm not really meditating. And you invite into that the comparing mind. Saying, I was doing better last week. This week was really hard. What if you're not comparing? What if we don't compare? If you're calm and collected, you're calm and collected. If you're not calm and collected, your meditation is simply not calm and collected. Right? And then you have to rely on something else. So here's the question of meditation is, what are we relying on? And what are we opening to? And I'll even say cultivating when we don't experience samadhi. So what is your meditation about then? If it's just distracted, if it's just tired, if it's just sick, if it's just waiting for the bell to ring, what is your meditation about then? If it's painful, and many people experience physical pain. Always someone asks about it. Okay, physical pain, back, legs, neck, whatever. There's the mental pain of I'm sitting and I'm experiencing the same arguments, the same anger, the same sadness that I've been experiencing for days, weeks, or years. Like, when am I gonna get over it? Why is it coming up again? Why doesn't my meditation just let that go away? So either the physical pain or emotional pain. When did we and where did we get the message and the expectation that meditation is without pain? That's something we should stop and consider. Whoever told you that meditation is pain-free? Not I. But I'm not here to tell you that you need to have experienced pain. That's also not the purpose. But what is the mind that doesn't discriminate? What is the mind that doesn't judge? What is the mind that doesn't have preferences? What is the mind that can say, okay, I'm going to let it be. I'll let it be. The sitting is what it is. What is the mind that doesn't expect, that doesn't have a preconception, that doesn't come in and with sort of half-hidden hopes, what it's going to be tonight? What is that mind that is alive and not in the future? What is the present mind? I'm not asking a mysterious question. I'm just encouraging us to notice when your mind is so often not here. Meditation is noticing how often you're not here, because being here is very much of the time dealing with pain. And that's the truth of dukkha. And the Buddha simply taught that you can't deny that. And if you do, you're always going to be running away to some temporary relief. And believe me, temporary reliefs are not bad. They're just temporary. Look, you got a physical pain, you got a headache, you got something, you got an illness. That's what medication is for. But no one takes medication thinking it's a permanent solution. You then, after the pain goes away, you have to start considering, well, what was the real root of that pain, and how can I truly eliminate it, or learn to live with it well. If pain is going to be an unavoidable, even necessary part of my life, how can I live well with this? So in meditation, when you make the commitment to sit with whatever happens, or how much time you commit to, and you keep that discipline and that training, basically it's exploring that question, how can I live well with dukkha? Right? How can I be a spiritual adult here? And accept, be here, be present with my life. This is a question that is not unique to us and is not new, but for like 2,500 years, sages every year and every moment have been asking this question. What does it mean to live well? Truly to live well? To not depend on temporary pleasures, to not reject them. Believe me, all the sages enjoy their tea, but when the tea is done, they don't continue wanting more. How do we enter into the mind of the sage? This is the question we need to ask in a serious way. You'll get the outer things you need and you want in life. That's not hard. A little bit of determination, some outer conditions, and some luck. And you'll get what you need. But that won't make you free. This man needs a candle. So I'd like to read a bit of Dogen. And then Dogen, the founder of Soto Zen in Japan. And around the year 1250, the way he talks about zazen, about Zen meditation, and the way he talked about the Dharma and the path, was at once very poetic and almost, hard to enter and understand. But at the same time, the paradox was, he was coming from such an intuitive level, like, you can't help but just agree with him. That's the beauty of Dogen. It's totally, hard to, and almost completely inaccessible. And I've been told that in Japanese it's even worse. In the original it's even harder. Should the translation simplify it? So that's good for us. But because he wanted the path to not be an elite, endeavor, he brought it down in really terms we can fully open to. So let me share a little bit with us. The first essay he wrote when he came back from China to teach was actually called Recommending Zazen to All People. So just from that, you see his, what he's aiming at. The essential way flows everywhere. How could it require practice or enlightenment? The essential teaching is fully available. How could any effort be necessary? Furthermore, the entire mirror of life is free of dust. Why do we need to polish it? Nothing is separate from this very place. Why journey away? Why indeed? And yet, if you miss the mark by even a strand of hair, you are as far away from it as heaven from earth. the slightest discrimination occurs, you'll be lost in confusion. Observe the example of Shakyamuni Buddha, who practiced upright for 6 years, even though he had deep wisdom. Look at Bodhidharma of the Shaolin Temple, who sat facing the wall for 9 years, although he had already received the deep mind awareness. Ancient sages were like this. Who nowadays doesn't need to practice like they did? Stop searching for phrases and chasing after words. Take the backward step and turn the light inward. Your body-mind of itself will drop away and your original face will appear. If you want to attain just this, start practicing just this. So you get a little taste that I fully kind of understand and don't understand. Like I appreciate him, and he's so direct, and yet, what is he saying? He combines that paradox of the words will help you, and the words will totally fail you. And that's Dogen's gift as a poet master. He's using words to help us not rely on words. And a couple of things, though, in his encouragement. He's saying, you're not trying to achieve something that you don't already have. Your mind and your situation right now is already everything you need to be fully realized. It is realized. Why don't you realize that? And he points us to the mind. Turn your mind inward, shine your light inward, and you'll see what you need. And yet, how long do we stay like that? We're actually contemplating body-mind. He uses the term body-mind in Japanese as one term. He doesn't talk about body and mind being two different things. Like use your mind to be aware of your body. He uses body-mind as one term, which is a sort of really important concept in Zen. We don't talk about using your posture in order to support your mind. We talk about the posture is the posture of your mind. That having good posture in your body is having good posture in your mind. They're not separate. Dogen makes a very clear emphasis on this point. The body and mind are one thing, right? So it takes a little pressure off having to have this clear, calm, insightful mind. Like, just make sure your posture's good and let your mind do what it does. It's not about what you're thinking. It's not about what you're not thinking. It's about having the body-mind in harmony, present and posture correct. If you're having a hard time with your mind, keep your posture. You can do that. Most of us, that's pretty much as we can do. The zazen I speak of is not learning meditation. That statement right there is kind of a little heretical and quite unique in the history of Zen. We're used to a lot of the masters being very, the Zen masters being very cutting of the tradition. But it wasn't until Dogen that became really embraced as more mainstream. It was sort of like those masters. But Dogen is bringing it right into the meditation hall when he says, the zazen, which is sitting meditation, I speak of, is not meditation. It's simply the Dharma gate of enjoyment and ease. It is practice realization of complete enlightenment. Realize this fundamental point. Once you experience it, you're like a dragon swimming in the water. knoweth that the true Dharma emerges of itself, clearing away hindrances and distractions. Thus, do not be concerned with who is wise and who is foolish. Do not discriminate the sharp from the dull. To practice wholeheartedly is the true endeavor of the way. Practice realization is not defiled, not special. It is a matter for every day. This is something else that you don't see this because I'm reading it, but in the text and in the Japanese, he came up and he actually created his own term, which was called practice realization. His point was, you don't practice in order to be realized. Your practice is realization. Just like body does not support mind, and mind is not aware of body. So his term of body-mind is one. Setting up his point that practice realization is one. But we always are in a sort of continuum of time. Our idea is that we live in a cause and effect relationship where, I practice enough and it leads to, the effect is, my cause is my meditation and the effect is my enlightenment. So I see meditation as a sort of a cause-effect relationship. And Dogen is actually quite consistent with the teaching of enlightenment being freedom from karma. Karma is a cause and effect relationship through time, that you produce an action and it has an effect. Right? That the good loving thoughts lead to good loving thoughts. Anger leads to anger. Hatred leads to hatred. It's only ended by love. The Buddha said in the Dhammapada, this is an eternal law. That was the law of karma. Enlightenment is, though, being free from karma. It's understanding that your practice doesn't lead to enlightenment. Your practice is enlightened. That you don't appreciate that is a discriminating mind. But if you think something's missing from your moment, that's you thinking something's missing from your moment. That's not your moment missing something. Right? There's a difference there. It's your mind that is not appreciating the truth of this moment. It's not the truth of this moment missing something. What more can we say? Practice enlightenment of one thing. And that will bring you back to your seat when you feel like something's missing in your sitting. Something's missing in my sitting. It's not going anywhere. Where's the enlightenment? Where's the light? Where's the awareness? Where's the peace? Where's the calm? Where's the love? Basically, we're asking the wrong question. Okay? That's a cause and effect question. That's a question out of karma, thinking I do something and it'll produce one day some results. And I've been doing it enough, so where's the results? Right? Looking for results is missing the results. It's missing seeing them, but not missing being them. The problem with our perspective is we are missing constantly what is already here. Either in your mind, in your body, in your environment, right? In the opportunity that you have right now to fully appreciate the fullness of your life. When is that not possible? When is your moment less full? If you're alive, never. Every moment is equal. And yet the discriminating mind, as Dogen said, will separate you like heaven from earth. Right? Because you think one moment is better than another. On a relative level, it's true. But on the practice enlightenment level, the level that we're trying to open up in our sitting, every moment is equal. Equally available, equally realized. So when we take the seat, and when you choose to practice, remember what you're doing. You are opening to that reality of your practice and your enlightenment being non-dual, being one thing, as your body and mind are one thing. Remember, Dogen started by talking about body and mind before he went to practice enlightenment, because it's easy for us to understand that concept of body and mind being one thing. You know, I pinch my finger, I feel in my mind, is there a real separation? And where does it start and where does it end? My body and mind. I have good posture and it opens up an awareness and presence in my mind. I understand that intuitively just by living in a body for long enough. But taking that model and applying it to my practice, my meditation, and my awakened reality, my awakened mind, it's not something you need to believe in. It's not another concept. It's not another experience. You just sit and let it take care of itself. You can't take it, you can't grab it, you can't achieve it, you can't have it. Because it already is. All we need to worry about right now is our posture.